I watched from my kitchen window as Karen McAllister, our neighborhood's self-crowned billionaire empress, snatched my FedEx box off the porch like it was her God-given right. Her Botox-frozen smirk screaming entitlement louder than her designer heels clicking on the concrete. In that split second, before I could even yell, her foot caught the edge of the welcome mat I deliberately left askew, and she went down hard, ankle snapping like a dry twig under her Louboutins. Her howl echoing through the cul-de-sac like the whine of a spoiled toddler denied a toy. Who knew karma moved that fast, or that I'd be the one rigging the trap? Bottle of spilled olive oil gleaming innocently on the step. My heart pounding not with guilt, but with the filthy thrill of payback finally served hot. It was a Tuesday in late September, the kind of crisp fall morning in Evergreen Heights, Colorado, where the aspens were just starting to turn gold and the air smelled like pumpkin spice lattes from the overpriced cafe down the block. Evergreen Heights isn't your average suburb. It's a gated enclave of McMansions built for tech bros and trust fund divorcees, where the HOA fees could buy you a small car. The covenants dictate everything from lawn height to the shade of your mailbox. I moved here 2 years ago after landing a remote gig as a software engineer for a Denver startup, trading my cramped apartment in the city for this slice of the American dream. A 3-bedroom rancher with mountain views and neighbors who wave like they're in a toothpaste ad. Except for Karen. Karen McAllister was the queen bee, the undisputed tyrant of the Evergreen Heights Homeowners Association. At 52, she looked like she'd been assembled in a Beverly Hills factory, platinum bob, yoga-toned arms that could crush a walnut, and a walk-in closet full of labels that screamed, "I summer in the Hamptons." Her husband, if he existed outside of tax filings, was some shadowy venture capitalist who'd made his fortune flipping distressed properties during the '08 crash. Karen? She fancied herself a philanthropist, chairing charity galas for underprivileged kids while lowballing the landscapers who mowed her 2-acre lot. But everyone knew the truth. She was a bully in Chanel, using her wealth and HOA presidency to enforce her petty fiefdom. No Christmas lights before Thanksgiving. No basketball hoops in driveways. And God forbid you park your Tesla in the guest spot without prior approval. I'd crossed her radar 6 months in, when I planted a veggie garden in my backyard without submitting the mandatory landscape variance form. It was just tomatoes and zucchini. Nothing flashy. But Karen showed up at my door with her clipboard and that fake sweet smile, cooing about community standards while citing fines that added up to my monthly mortgage. I paid up, grumbled, and kept my head down. But then came the packages. Oh, the packages. Working from home meant deliveries were my lifeline. Laptop chargers, meal kits, that occasional bottle of bourbon to dull the edges of another Zoom call. In an Evergreen, porch pirates weren't strung-out addicts. They were bored housewives with nothing better to do. The first theft was subtle, a missing box of protein bars that I chalked up to the delivery guy screwing up the address. The second was a high-end blender, the kind with blades sharp enough to julienne regret. By the third, a custom keyboard I'd saved for, I was fuming, checking Ring footage obsessively. That's when I saw her, Karen, at dusk, in a cashmere sweater and pearls, scooping it up like it was junk mail. She didn't even glance around, just tucked it under her arm and sauntered back to her Tudor monstrosity across the street, the one with the imported Italian fountain that violated every water conservation rule in the county. Rage hit me like a freight train. This wasn't just theft. It was a power play, a reminder that in her world, what was mine was hers if she deemed it beneath her. I stewed for days, replaying the video, her smug little pivot as she vanished in her garage. My buddies at the office Slack, guys scattered from Austin to Seattle, egged me on with memes about Karen versus the world, but I wanted more than laughs. I wanted her to feel small, exposed, the way she'd made me feel when she tacked that violation notice to my door like I was a tenant, not a homeowner. That's when the plan hatched. Born from too many true crime podcasts and a late-night scroll through Reddit's r/pro-revenge. I'd make her pay. Not with fists or lawsuits, too messy for a place like this, but with precision, the kind of poetic justice that leaves no fingerprints. Step 1. Intel. I started small, joining the neighborhood Facebook group under a fake profile, New Heights Neighbor 42, and lurking on her Instagram, where she posted thirst traps for luxury real estate and humble brags about her empire of boutique hotels inherited from daddy's oil money. She had a weakness for retail therapy, as she called it, and our street's weekly trash pickup was her reconnaissance flyover. I timed my next delivery for a Thursday, when a mail truck rolled through at 2 p.m. Sharp. A decoy box, bulky, taped to hell, labeled fragile, electronics in Sharpie. But inside, nothing but balled-up newspaper and a single whoopee cushion for good measure. I positioned my phone on a tripod inside, angled just right, and waited. She didn't disappoint. At 2:17, there she was, scanning porches like a hawk, her yoga mat slung over one shoulder from her power vinyas class at the club. She grabbed it quick, glancing at my house, dark, blinds drawn, before beelining to her SUV. I tailed her on foot, 2 houses back, heart jackhammering. She dumped it in her recycling bin, out of sight, then drove off to Pilates or whatever rich people do to stay bendy. Score 1 for me. But it wasn't enough. I needed escalation, something that would sting her wallet and her pride. That's when I discovered her secret, the annual HOA audit. As president, Karen controlled the books. But whispers in the group chat hinted at creative accounting, funneling dues into her personal beautification fund for marble countertops in the clubhouse kitchen. If I could expose that, poof, her throne crumbles. I started digging. Anonymous tips to the county clerk's office. FOIA requests disguised as concerned citizen queries. Nothing stuck yet, but the seeds were planted. Meanwhile, the thefts continued. My real packages, groceries, work swag, piled up at the post office, forcing me to drive across town like some caveman. Neighbors commiserated over fences. Old Mister Hargrove lost a grill cover, the young couple next door, a baby monitor. No one named names, but eyes flicked toward Karen's driveway, where her fleet of Beamers rotated like a showroom. She's untouchable, Hargrove muttered once, sipping his course. Billionaire blood buys a lot of silence. Untouchable? Bullshit. I decided to go biblical. An eye for an eye. A package for a package. I ordered a fleet of fakes, cheap gadgets from AliExpress, wrapped to look premium, and seated them on porches up and down the block. The trap was set for the block party. That forced march of potlucks and small talk where Karen held court by the gazebo, doling out demerits like candy. I'd spike her drink with something harmless but humiliating, laxative in the sangria. No, too juvenile. Instead, I rigged her prized azaleas with itching powder, the kind that blooms red, waltz for days. The party was in full swing, kids chasing drones, dads grilling brats, the air thick with charcoal and Chardonnay. I nursed a beer on the fringes, watching Karen glide through, her laugh like shattered glass. Then it happened, my real delivery, the one I'd rerouted, a massive cooler of Omaha steaks, gift-wrapped for maximum allure. It thumped onto my porch mid-afternoon, and sure enough, as the sun dipped, she struck. I had the olive oil ready, poured from a spilled bottle during my lunch break, slick and shiny under the porch light. She approached like a cat burglar in suburbia, heels discarded for flats, whispering to herself about salvage rights or some HOA nonsense she'd invented. The box was heavy. She grunted as she lifted it, staggering back. That's when Matt shifted, or did I nudge it with my toe from the half-open door? Her foot flew out, the oil betraying her balance. And down she went, ankle folding in an angle that made my stomach lurch even as I stifled a whoop. The box burst open on impact, stakes sliding across the walk like bloody confetti. Her scream piercing the evening quiet. Chaos erupted. Neighbors spilled out. Phones up, filming like it was Coachella. "Call 911, someone yelled. Karen writhed, clutching her leg, mascara tracks carving rivers down her cheeks. This is your fault," she spat at me as I rushed over. Feigning horror. Paramedics arrived in a blaze of lights, strapping her to a board while she babbled about lawsuits and negligent homeowners. I played the Good Samaritan, handing over my witness statement to the cop, omitting, of course, the oil in the grudge. By nightfall, she was at Evergreen General, X-rays confirming a clean break, trimalleolar fracture, 6 weeks in a cast, surgery pending. The block party post-mortem buzzed on Nextdoor. Sympathy posts laced with schadenfreude, anonymous jabs at her klutziness. I posted a vague prayers for Karen, heal fast, with a praying hands emoji. My revenge burner account liking every shady comment. But here's the twist, I didn't stop there. With her sidelined, the HOA meeting loomed, and I saw my opening. As vice chair, a title I'd snagged in a moment of weakness last spring, I chaired the emergency session via Zoom. Karen dialed in from her hospital bed, propped on pillows, voice slurry from pain meds. "This is outrageous," she slurred. "I demand a recess until I'm mobile." The room, 20 pixelated faces, murmured dissent. Hargrove cleared his throat. "Karen, we've got receipts. The audit." I'd leaked the docs anonymously. Invoices for her personal errands charged to dues. $5,000 for a spa day, rebranded as stress relief for board members. Gasps rippled through the chat. Karen's face purpled. "Lies. Fabrications by jealous peons." I'll let it play out. Voice steady as I read the charges. Motions flew. Censure. Resignation. She fought like a cornered Wolverine, accusing me of sabotage, of the fall being a hit job. He's the thief, stealing my position. But the votes tallied, 18-2. Her out. The screen went black as she logged off. Afinal, sobiechon. Word spread like wildfire. Local news picked it up. Billionaire HOA, queen toppled in scandal. With my porch cam footage edited, of course, going viral on TikTok. Comments poured in. "Karma's a bitch." "Karen, suburban takedown of the year." Donations trickled to a neighborhood justice fund I quietly administered, fixing Hargrove's fence, subsidizing the young couple's monitor. Karen? She lawyered up, suing the HOA for defamation. Me for assault. Depositions dragged into winter. Her cast off, but her limp permanent. A cane tapping like Morse code for resentment. She sold the tutor at a loss, fleeing to Scottsdale with tail between legs. But not before plastering billboards with her story, innocent victim of mob rule. No one bought it. Her galas dried up. Whispers of IRS audits followed. Me? I replanted the garden. Double the size. No variances needed. Packages arrived safe. Neighbors nodding with newfound respect. But late nights, staring at the mountain silhouette, guilt gnaws. Was it justice or just vengeance dressed up? Karen's broken, not just her ankle, but her illusion of invincibility. And in America, with a mighty fall hardest, that's the real bitter pill. She'll rebuild, richer than ever. Me, I'll savor the scar she left, and one I gave back. As the snow dusted Evergreen Heights that first December after the fall, I thought the chapter closed, like one of those Netflix docs where the villain slinks off screen. Defeated. But Karen McAllister wasn't built for quiet exits. Oh no, she was the type to burn the house down on her way out, cackling from the lawn chair. Her lawsuit hit my mailbox like a Christmas bomb. 50 pages of legalese accusing me of premeditated battery, intentional infliction of emotional distress, and conspiracy to defame. The ankle, front and center, with glossy photos of the purple joint. Medical bills tallying six figures. Defendant's oil slick was no accident, her shark of a lawyer wrote, but a calculated assault on plaintiff's mobility and status. I laughed at first, over bourbon with Hargrove in his garage, our breath fogging the air as we tinkered with his old Ford. She's grasping. Son, he said, wiping grease from his knuckles. Folks round here's seen through her now, but the pit in my stomach grew. Discovery meant handing over my phone. My ring logs, every digital crumb. What if they traced the fake profiles? The AliExpress orders? What if the olive oil bottle, innocently labeled for cooking demo, tied back to me, my lawyer, a no-nonsense gal from Boulder named Trish, assured me we had defenses, contributory negligence, Karen trespassing on private property. Truth as an absolute shield for the audit leaks. This is Colorado, she said, tapping her pen in her cluttered office overlooking Pearl Street. Trespassers assume the risk. And HOAs? They're powder kegs for this crap. We countersued for harassment, citing her history of HOA terrorism, emails threatening liens over petunias. The time she called code enforcement on the Ramirez family's piñata for being culturally insensitive. The deposition was a circus. Karen arrived in a chauffeured Escalade, cane in one hand, designer sling cradling the other from stress-induced carpal tunnel. Sworn in, she launched into a monologue worthy of Lifetime. I built this community from dirt. I sacrificed galas, fundraisers for ingrates like him. She jabbed her cane at me across the table. He targeted me because I'm successful. A woman of means. Jealousy, pure and simple. Trish leaned forward. All business. MS. McAllister, did you ever remove items from neighbors' porches? Silence. Thick as fog. Then, salvage. Abandoned goods. Hua bilaw by Jumhai. Lies. There was no such bylaw. I bit my tongue as exhibits flashed. My video, time-stamped. Her shadow, unmistakable. That could be anyone, she huffed. Bad angle. The real bomb dropped when Hargrove testified. Under oath. He spilled not just the accounting, but Karen's side hustles, flipping foreclosures through the HOA, strong-arming votes with donations that bought silence. She told me once, he drawled, Evergreens mine. Earl, play ball or pack sand. The room froze. Karen's lawyer objected furiously. But the judge, a grizzled ex-prosecutor with no patience for drama, let it stand. Media frenzy followed. Denver Post ran, Suburbia's Iron Lady crumbles. Theft, fraud, and a slippery fall. TikToks exploded with reenactments. Karens in blonde wigs slipping on banana peels. Caption when the HOA hits back. Even national pods picked it up. Petty crimes of the elite, with me as the faceless hero. Voice distorted for anonymity. Donations to the Justice Fund swelled. I funneled them to a community garden. Irony not lost. But victory tasted sour. Karen's counters escalated. PIs tailing me to the grocery store. Anonymous Yelp reviews tanking my freelance gigs. Unreliable, slippery character. One night, headlights flooded my driveway. I peeked out to see her SUV idling. Engine rumbling like a threat. She didn't approach, just stared, eyes gleaming in the dash light. Before peeling out. Sleep evaded me after that. Shadows lengthening in the rancher's halls. Winter thawed into a muddy spring, and the case dragged. Mediation in a sterile conference room. Karen. Makeup caked over fatigue lines. Offering a settlement. Drop it all, she said. Voice honeyed poison. I'll withdraw. Pay your fees. We move on like civilized people. Her lawyer nodded. But I saw the hook. A gag order. Burying the truth forever. Trish whispered. Don't. We win at trial. She bleeds. I held firm. Trial date set for June. Under the relentless Colorado sun. Juries here skew pragmatic. Hikers. Teachers. Folks who hate busybodies. Opening arguments painted me as David, her as Goliath in pearls. Evidence mounted, forensics on the oil, household grade. No prints. Witness after witness peeling back her empire. The Ramirez family testified about the piñata raid, tears in their eyes. She said our traditions don't fit her vision. Mrs. Ramirez said, "But this is America. Our home too." Karen took the stand. A spectacle in emerald green. Cane polished to a gleam. "I'm the victim," she declared, voice quavering for effect. Betrayed by a community I loved. Questions turned sharp. A mess. McAllister, explain the $12,000 charge for executive coaching to your personal stylist? Deflection. Bluster. Then Trish dropped the mic. A recorded call. Leaked from the server. Karen berating a board member. "Cross me, and I'll bury you in fees till you foreclose." The jury deliberated 2 hours. Verdict. Her claims dismissed. Mine upheld. $250K in damages. Plus punitive for the harassment. She staggered out. Cane clattering. Flashes popping like gunfire. "This isn't over," she hissed as we passed in the hall. But it was. Appeals tanked. Her assets frozen pending payout. Summer bloomed, triumphant. The garden thrived, zucchini bountiful. Shared at block party sans HOA oversight. I dated a barista from the cafe. Her laugh erasing old scars. Evergreen felt. Normal. Free. Yet in quiet moments. Doubt crept. Had I become her mirror? Wielding power like a club? The viral fame faded. But searches for my name still surfaced her billboards. Justice for Karen. Fight the mob. Sparse traffic. Mostly bots. She vanished to Arizona. Rumors of a quickie divorce. Hotels sold at fire sale prices. Bitter end? For her. Yes, reduced to a punchline. Limping through sun-bleached days. For me, the revenge lingered. A ghost in the machine. America promises justice, but delivers vendettas. And in the suburbs, where fences whisper secrets, that's the real fracture. Fall returned, aspens blazing like warnings. And with it, the echoes of what I'd wrought. I'd won the war, but battles lingered in the form of collection calls. Karen's lawyers dragging feet on the payout. Stalling with motions and asset evaluations. Trish warned me, "She's bleeding you dry on purpose." Salt in the wound. I nodded. But inside, the thrill had curdled to weariness. Freelance dried up amid the controversy, clients ghosting, whispers of that package guy in Slack channels. The barista? She bailed after a tabloid snippet hit. Revenge hero or homewrecker? Clickbait. But it painted me as obsessive. Unstable. Evergreen shifted too. With Karen gone, the HOA democratized elections fair. Covenants loosened. We installed a communal fire pit. Roast turning to stories of her reign. The widow she'd fined for mourning doves in her bird bath, unsanitary. The veteran she'd reported for an unpermitted flagpole. Laughter healed, but undercurrents ran dark. Anonymous letters arrived in my box. "You started this." "Who's next?" Paranoia bloomed. I installed extra cams. Slept with a bat by the bed. Then came the call, October 15th. 4 a.m. Unknown number. A woman's voice. Slurred and seething. "You think you've won? I own judges. Alex. Your little garden? Bulldozed by week's end." Click. Karen. I traced it to a Scottsdale burner. Heart slamming. Bluff or threat? Next morning. Code enforcement vans idled at the cul-de-sac's edge. Inspectors measuring my heirloom tomatoes with clipboards. Variance expired, one grunted. HOA override from corporate. Corporate? Karen's old firm. Snapping back via proxies. Rage reignited. Hotter than before. I lawyered up again. Injunctions flying. But the drain was real. Savings hemorrhaging. Nights blurred by Red Bull and rage scrolls. I dove deeper. Hacking public records legally. via Trish's paralegal. Uncovering Karen's web, shell companies laundering her donations, ties to county officials greased with gala tickets. One name popped. Commissioner Hale, recipient of her yacht christening fund. Blackmail material? Tempting. But crossing that line meant becoming her. Instead, I went public, full throttle. A Medium post. The Fall of Evergreen's Queen, a survivor's tale, detailing everything, thefts, audits. The oil, framed as accidental spill during confrontation. It went nuclear, shared by podcasters. Amplified on X with Karen Karma. Replies flooded, survivors of her scams. Ex-employees spilling tea. She ruined my marriage, one wrote. Gaslit me into bankruptcy. Momentum built, a class action brewed. Dozens suing for misused dues. Karen countered with a Substack screed. Witch hunt in the heartland. How one man's vendetta destroyed a visionary. Victim porn, laced with dog whistles about entitled millennials and woke HOA purges. Her followers, die-hard enablers from her charity circuit, rallied, doxing my allies, flooding the Justice Fund with chargebacks. Online wars raged, forums pitting Karens against revenge bros, memes morphing my face into superhero capes. The breaking point came mid-November. A hearing on the injunction. Courtroom packed. Air electric. Karen testified remotely from a leather throne in her Scottsdale McMansion. Ankle scar visible like a badge. He's obsessed, she purred to the judge. Stalking my recovery. Slandering my legacy. Exhibits. Screenshots of my lurking posts. Twisted out of context. My turn, I took the stand. Voice steady despite the tremor. She stole more than boxes. Your Honor. She stole trust. Community. The judge, a woman with crow's feet and zero tolerance, ruled swift. Injunction granted. Her proxies fined. This isn't feudalism. MS. McAllister. Pay the man. Cheers erupted. Outside. Reporters swarmed. That night, the wire hit. $250,000 plus interest. Direct deposit. I stared at the number. Numb. Victory. Hollow as a gutted pumpkin. But Karen wasn't done. Days later, a package arrived, no sender. Inside, a single Louboutin heel. Sole caked in dried oil. Note scrawled. Slippery slopes. Alex. Watch your step. Chills ran spine deep. Cops called it prank. No leads. I moved the bat closer. Holiday lights twinkled early that year. Defiance against old rules. The fire pit glowed with tales. But mine stayed locked, a vault of what-ifs. Was the oil justice or assault? Her thefts petty or predatory? In America's mirror, we're all a little Karen, nursing grudges under picket fences. Spring 2026 dawned with azaleas, hers, transplanted by Hargrove as spite. The class action settled. Karen's empire crumbled. Hotels seized. Scottsdale pad foreclosed. She surfaced in a Phoenix rag. Disgraced philanthropist starts fresh, hawking essential oils from a strip mall booth. Bitter? Her empire reduced to pyramid schemes. Limp a lifelong reminder. Me? I sold the rancher. Traded for a cabin in the foothills. Solitude over suburbia. Packages? I pick 'em up myself now. Hand steady. Revenge taught me. The sweetest justice sours quick. And in the quiet, that's the true snap. Yet even in the foothills hush, where pines whispered secrets to the wind and elk grazed my wildflower meadow, Karen's shadow stretched long. I'd fled, evergreen, thinking distance would dull the edge. But trauma's a clingy bitch. It tags along like junk mail, piling up until you sort it or suffocate. My cabin, a A-frame fixer-upper off Highway 285, was meant as rebirth, solar panels, a wood stove for stormy nights, a desk overlooking meadows where I could code without neighbors' eyes. But the first package delivery, a router upgrade, triggered it. paranoia spiking as the truck rumbled away. Me sprinting out like a paranoid squirrel. Trish called weekly. Updates on a class action tale. Payouts trickling. Karen's appeals evaporating like morning mist. She's ghosting everyone, she said once. Over crackly self-service. Rumors say she's couch surfing with that stylist. Irony's thick. I chuckled. But it rang false. Pity crept in. Unbidden. The woman who'd terrorized a suburb reduced to freeloading? Part of me, the soft underbelly America drills into us with Hallmark marathons, wondered if I'd overplayed. The other part, the one that replayed her porch grab in slow-mo, sneered good. Let her taste the bottom. Freelance rebounded slowly. A podcast gig, Suburban Sagas, where I narrated my tale anonymously. Voice modulated to gravel. Listeners ate it up, DMs flooding with "you go king," and my Karen's worst advice. I doled out tips, document everything, build coalitions, never go lone wolf. But off mic, isolation gnawed. Dates fizzled. Who wants a guy whose icebreakers ever had your blender stolen by a billionaire? The barista's ghost lingered. Her text, too much drama. Babe, a scar. Summer scorched the Front Range. Wildfires smudging sunsets orange. News broke. Karen arrested in Phoenix for solicitation fraud, hawking those oils door to door with fake testimonials. Mugshot viral. Hair askew. Eyes hollow. The Empress dethroned. Comment savage. Slippery saleswoman slips again. I donated my cut of the pod fees to victim funds. A quiet amends. Then, the olive branch, or Trojan horse. A letter. Postmark Scottsdale. No return. Handwritten. Ink smudged like tears. Alex, I was wrong. The fall woke me, literally. Therapy's hard, but truth's harder. No excuses. The money's yours. Use it for good. Forgive? K. Enclosed a check. Full amount plus interest. And a photo. Her ankle. Scarred and knobby. Next to a AA chip. I burned it in the wood stove. Flames devouring the words. Forgiveness? In America, we peddle it like fast food. Cheap. Greasy. Leaves you queasy. She'd stolen more than packages. My trust in neighbors. My ease in my skin. The check? Cashed. Funneled to the garden co-op back in Evergreen. Seeds for new growth. Fall frosted the meadows gold again. 2 years post-fall. I hiked Devil's Head. Summit views stretching to Kansas Flats. Wind scouring clean. Below, suburbs sprawled like circuits, neat, hiding wires of resentment. Karen? Last I heard, sober in group homes. Blogging Redemption Road, from HOA hell to humility. Reads like PR spin, but who knows? Bitter ends twist, maybe hers loops to grace. Mine? Open. No fences, just horizons. The thrill of that snap, her ankle. My trap fades to footnote. A story for campfires. In the end, revenge isn't the hook, it's the release. Slipping free. That's the real walk without limp. Epilogue whispers. Evergreen thrives. Gardens unchecked. I visit sometimes. Beers with Hargrove. Watching stars wheel. You changed us. Kid, he says. Changed me too. From victim to vector. Grudge to grace. America's messy that way. Packages stolen. Ankles broken. But mornings? They come bright. Full of light. And that's the hook that sticks.